Alan, you only have to look at the top of that leaderboard to see how happy they are and how happy they can be as Roger Penske tries to finish in the PPG points, first, second, and third. He is certainly well on his way at the moment. We should come back with the green flag shortly.
Gentlemen, start your engines.
We're back at the Bosch Spark Plug Grand Prix, still under yellow here as they have the oil dry out on the surface that they used to pick up some of the moisture from that last incident, and they're using the jet cleaner to try and blow it off the track. And that echoes once again that concern about debris on the surface, not just the oil dry, but any especially small parts that might cut down a tire and cause a more serious problem.
And John, Tracy's crew chief mentioned it earlier that the drivers can see where they're going, but however, you can't see all the small things that could possibly give you a puncture. We saw Penske eliminate both cars in Phoenix not too long ago when Tracy crashed. Emerson took the lead, and on the green flag lap, something broke in Emerson's car because of debris, and it was all over for the day. I'm not saying that can happen here, but unusual things happen on these 1 mile ovals.
And you can see the way they're aligned behind Johnny Rutherford in the PPG pace car with Paul Tracy, and then Al Unser Jr. 1 car back behind Bosell. The battle will be for the lead very quickly here. In fact, all 3 Penske cars could jump into this fight very quickly.
Also, cleanup takes a little bit longer on oval tracks than normal because you have to be immaculate. We saw clearly 2 and 3 different racing lines through that turn 4 over there, so everything must be clean before they even dare to give them a green flag.
One thing this yellow most certainly would have done, if there is any question about the fuel mileage and the ability to carry the car to the end of the race, that certainly should be a race now, Derek.
There's Bosell, just goes through our picture. He is currently in 4th place. His battle is with Johansson, who you can see is a long, long way back here in the line. We look through the cars as they go through here, but what will Mansell do? Earlier, Paul Page had a chance to sit down with Aaron Nigel to discuss the future.
When the idea of coming here was first described, it was described as a great adventure. Has it in fact ended up to be a great adventure?
Absolutely. I mean, probably more so than anyone could have imagined. And I think what's happened in 1994 just proves to us personally what a great adventure 1993 was and what an accomplishment it was to win the championship.
The fact that you didn't win the Indy 500 while you were here, will that be an empty point in your career or something that you may try and come back at?
I don't think it'll be empty because, I mean, I have come 3rd and it's first time out after I came back from my operation. I think the fact that I've competed in 2 Indy 500s and say I've done it and I enjoyed it, and as you know, we left the Indy 500 this year, not very happy man. I have to say these months later I'm still not very happy how all that happened. But it was a great experience, and who knows what the future might or might not hold.
Your future then in Formula One. Can you tell us what the plans are?
Unfortunately not. We have to basically keep a tight lip and say you'll have to wait like I will until the end of the year to see what happens.
Well, tight lip, there's the operative word in that interview. We do know he's going to drive 3 Grand Prix at the end of the season, and is that, Derek, do you figure a judgment as to whether or not he'll be able to drive in future years?
I don't know, but Mansell is spectacular. Frank Williams and Renault in particular do want him back in Formula One.
We run green flag once again as the green just comes out, and once again it will be a battle at the front of the field, and the Penske cars will be involved. But Paul Tracy, owing to his position at the front of the field, was able to get a jump on Raul Boesel and therefore on Al Unser Jr. So as Al Unser Jr. came across the line, he was almost 2 seconds back. That's a long way on an oval, but remember, all it takes is one slight hesitation, and little Al will be right back on the back end of Paul Tracy in a battle for the lead. At the same time, Emerson Fittipaldi has some slower traffic to handle up before he gets back in touch with the leaders of the race.
There's
look at how fast he's done it.
Just into the top of the picture, but watch how quickly that the leading cars get into traffic on this racetrack, which brings you back into this traffic technique that is so important here.
We talk about that time and time again, Derek. How far ahead are you looking? Are you looking all the way across the corner? Do you wish you could see the other straightaway?
There's never the same instant that comes up twice. So you have to make instantaneous judgments. If you have to think about it, it's already too late. You have to drive on instinct when you're in traffic jams that you get into on these 1 mile ovals. But that's what makes them so great.
But further then, this late in the season then, they've driven with these guys all year long in the same equipment. Does that give you a greater confidence level at screaming up behind somebody you've raced with all year?
Well, if I said yes, do you think Fernandez and Cheever would agree with me?
Exactly.
Or Mario?
So at the front of the field, it's still Paul Tracy with Al Unser Jr. trying to catch up. We mentioned earlier what a beautiful day it is, and it brought out a gigantic crowd here, another record crowd for the Indy cars. Take a look there at the edge of the screen. Another brand new grandstand here as part of the improvements that Roger Penske makes. Nibbles away something new every year, every time we come back. A facility that is especially loved by the competitors and the fans. The paddock area is wonderful, and the fans can see everything.
You can see Emerson is closing in on Al Jr. Jr. goes to the high side of Matt Schuster, but here's the traffic jam now that we mentioned.
So now Al Unser Jr. trying to tiptoe his way around and having now to worry about Fittipaldi, who is closing.
To give you an idea of speed here, remember Emerson's qualifying run was above 185 miles an hour, which means at no time on this racetrack, which is virtually all corners, do you ever get below 145 miles an hour. At no time are you slower than that.
Let's move back to 9th place. Michael Andretti has been battling with Mauricio Guzman. Michael passed him just a second ago, but Mauricio is staying right there with him as they're bottled up behind Bobby Rahal.
Big, big struggle for Michael. In the test here 3 weeks ago, had a big crash right there, lost control of the car, backed it into the wall so hard he was unconscious, taken to hospital. He remembers nothing about the day. But he is having a mighty struggle here this afternoon.
The view from Michael Andretti. You saw Tracy sweep past. Now Michael trying to get down inside of Bobby Rahal. Here's the Ford Electronics telemetry from onboard Michael Andretti's car.
Speed on the right. Here's the downhill run. He's obviously behind Rahal, who we know is running slowly because we saw him struggle earlier on. But you can see his speeds are a lot lower than you will expect from the leading cars. So busy, the driver. Look at Rahal wiggle as he turns to the apex. Michael's not even flat through the kink here, which is turn 1, but he goes outside Rahal.
Look how careful, though, in and out of the throttle as he moves on to the backside and on the downhill run. Look back at the front of the field. Al Unser Jr. with Fittipaldi right behind him in a fight for second place as they come around Rahal. There's your battle for second. Tracy is 6 seconds ahead of this fight.
You hear the tire squeal? You can hear the tire squeal, and that's understeer or push through that turn 2. Bozell in the middle of the Penske powerhouse here.
The voice of Goodyear, but you would prefer that it not speak too loud.
The voice of Goodyear, whose tires get faster. They are breaking track records at every racetrack they go to. And it's all in preparation for Firestone. Al Spire, the competition manager of Firestone, is here. Look at Al Jr. round the outside decisively of Michael.
Let's go pit side. Remember, we had Adrian Fernandez in that accident, and he was limping as he walked away from the car. What's the medical report, Jan? Anything yet?
Yes, we've had an opportunity to check in with the medical center, and he is okay, but he does have a bruised right ankle, and he is waiting for the doctors, Terry Trammell and company, to come in off the course when the race is over for further evaluation. But Adrian Fernandez, okay.
We saw the front of his car as they took it away on the tow truck. He bruises it because he bangs it off the side, not because anything came into the cockpit.
Still again, that whole issue of energy that ripples into the cockpit. You try to dissipate most of it, but now and then some of it ends up with the driver. Look at this fight now, Derek.
Well, one of the great safety developments IndyCar has done over the last 10 years is to move the driver further from the impact. And the damage we saw to Fernandez to the front of his car never got into the driver's cockpit. That's what IndyCar wanted to strive to attain, and they did now with Fernandez's crash.
Boy, Fittipaldi is not letting go. Villeneuve was very definitely tenacious there as well, as he wanted to continue to guard his position. He currently runs in 7th place. Behind him now is Scott Goodyear as he finally moves into the top 10. So 177 laps complete. When we come back, we'll take you all the way to the green flag here at Nazareth. We're back at the Boss Park Plug Grand Prix. Nazareth, Pennsylvania. It's still a battle within the Penske team, and it's a good one. Penske cars run 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. You got the top of the lineup, Tracy, Unser Jr., then Fittipaldi, then Raul Boesel, Stefan Johansson, Teo Fabi in 6th. Jacques Villeneuve runs in 7th, then Scott Goodyear. Michael Andretti is now 9th. Mauricio Guzman is in 10th position. 7 seconds behind Paul Tracy is Al Unser. But then Emerson Fittipaldi is doing whatever he can to close in and grab 2nd away from Little Al. See the rest of the field come through here. There's Teo Fabi.
Teo Fabi, 3 4th places is all he can muster this year. Will leave the team. He's in the middle of the traffic jam. The Penske goes around the outside. He gives them room. Goodyear now closes up on Fabi.
Gives Scott Goodyear a chance to close down in. Let's see if Scott Goodyear can close and pass Fabi.
Goodyear quiet all weekend here, not in a battle with speed, but look at Johansson behind Goodyear.
Johansson is there. He's actually ahead of them in the race itself, a lap ahead as he's trying to come up and lap.
Willie T. Ribbs is in the mix here. He's not in a fight for position. Fabi comes down the inside. Subtle move by Ribbs to go to the outside there. He saw the cars coming. We saw Goodyear just make it under Willie T.
So Scott Goodyear looking for an opportunity to catch up to Teo Fabi, currently running in 6th place. At the front of the field, it's still Paul Tracy.
The problem for the drivers here, too, is you don't want to back off too much and lose touch with whoever you're fighting with, and yet you don't want to hold up the leaders. So it's a catch-22 situation of how much leeway you give the leaders when they come to lap you.
Speaking of the leaders, there comes Fittipaldi past Goodyear. So in other words, I've got to drive at over 185 miles an hour, watch my front, watch my mirrors, keep it off the wall, and for that you're only going to pay me a couple $1 million a year?
Right, but you have to change your train of thought every couple of seconds also, because things happen so fast here.
No sweat.
Hey, that's what they get paid for.
There's Stefan Johansson. He runs in 5th place. He's actually now a full lap ahead of Teo Fabi, a car that they have done a lot of development with. Engineer Kenny Anderson really been working on shock absorbers and suspension this year with a lot of experience coming off of the Penske team. There's Raul Boesel. Johansson sits